Tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about each person individually, and then perhaps as a couple, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. And also your journey. So when did your vision or that seed got planted that you wanted to grow stuff and have a farm to where you're at today? Talk a little bit about that.
So my name is Ivette Guerra. I am 37 years old. I'm a mom of 3 kids, ages 14, 11, and 2. And for work, I work for a labor union. I negotiate contracts for a living for teachers here in the state of Connecticut. And when I'm not doing that work, that's the work that pays the bills, but the work that I love is work here on the farm, just farming, and doula work. So I also support pregnant people through pregnancy, regardless of the outcome of their pregnancy.
My name is Héctor Gerardo, and we are the co-founders of Seamarron Farmstead. Myself, I'm from the Dominican Republic. I came here when I was 12 years old. So it's been a rough, understanding where my place in this country is. So I found it being a farmer now. I'm the executive director of a nonprofit called One Freedom for All. We work with youth around food insecurity and ending mass incarceration in the school-to-prison pipeline. And that's one of the things that motivated more for me to become a farmer, because I was working, we work every day with youth in New York City and the Bronx that are food insecure. So for us, like the way we started this land, we didn't purchase it outright with our money. We had help from our families to purchase this land. Just the land, not even the farm, none of that. Just the land. We had a cooperative came together. Like her mom, my parents, my sister, other people in the family came together, and we, it's under our name, but a lot of people put their hand for us to be able to purchase this property. When it comes to the farming, the farm itself is not under us. It's under my sister, my cousin, Liz, and myself. So it's 4 of us on the land right now, on the business that we run this business. And that's part of our cooperative of how we want to be able to include people that don't have access to land. And then we have volunteers that come. And if you volunteer in Seamarron Farm, you have a spot on a bed that you can grow food, and that's your spot. You can come and volunteer, you can help us harvest or whatever, but you have your plot right here that you come to volunteer, yes, but you're not just gonna leave just that you learn something, but you're gonna leave with something that is yours, that's something that nobody can take away until we're gone, right? And we don't have a name for that cooperative model yet, but we will figure it out.
So there's a job for everyone. So when we look at farming and even this cooperative farming model, we see it from that same way. So yes, there's some people who are not going to be outside stewarding the land every single day because it's just not possible for them. But his cousin, for example, is a paralegal. So he is our legal mind, right? We have documents that need to be processed. He's a person who gives it a once over, twice over, asks the questions, and he's a person who we know that we can go to. In terms of frankly, facilitation of conversations, because we're all very type A personalities, we know what we want. Hector's sister, Aniana, is really our facilitator. She brings her skills as a social worker to the space as well, in order to help ground us in the work that we're doing. And at the same time, she's out there rolling up her sleeves, pulling out weeds, organizing things, doing research about different ways in which we can contribute. And both Hector and I, on the deed, we are the owners of this property, of this home in particular, and we do everything, right? But for us, it's what are the different things that folks can bring? So my mom helps out whenever she's here, doing planting seeds, teaching us what she's learned from Ecuador. So whoever, when they come here, in terms of formal ownership, it's your whatever you're able to support, however you're able to support, however it comes, right? So even if you're not outside on the land doing the back-breaking work, which we don't want it to be back-breaking.
It's we have an account and everybody for $50.
That's good.
Everybody puts $50 a month, and that's how
$50
we.
is good.
And that's how we manage some of the expenses that we, my incur during this process.
Okay.
Like I said, Hector and I are both organizers, so we're just like, all right, well, we know you don't want us here, but we have to be here, so we're gonna get in as much as we can. So the challenges were initially just getting our start, right? So who do we go to? There's no go-to place, and unfortunately, in the state, all the resources are kind of spread across a bunch of different websites, and so it took a lot of research on the back end, reading things. Just hoping that we could, start talking to random people. And so it could be very, very stressful. They're in the middle of our high season when every single day we got to be outside, watering the plants, making sure everything's okay, picking, weeding, looking at the pest control, looking at this. Oh, this just happened. We have to make sure. It can be a lot, and all of that's happening before 6 o'clock in the morning, and then you start your day. And then our weekends, really, our weekends are when we're supposed to be resting, and we spend a lot of the time on the farm. And we tell our family, like, listen, it's the summertime. Don't expect us to come over on the weekends unless you're going to come here to help work. Like, like this is Hector's things. Like, oh, Fulanita wants to come over. Great. She's gonna bring her boots and her gloves. Like,
you can't come over here without.
Put it into work
for sure. So it's. We have a 3-acre farm. We're probably farming on about an acre, more or less.
1.5.
And it's a lot. It's a lot of work.
And then another stressors that we have right now is that we live in Fairfield, we live in Danbury, and Danbury has a 5-acre minimum for farming, for tax purposes, because they don't want anybody farming. And now we have a fight with the city. We're going to get into a fight with the city for them to be able to designate our property as a farm. And we know, like you said, the USDA defines farmers as people that grow food, no matter where you grow it, as long as you're growing. And that's what we're doing. And now we got to fight the city to be able to do something that's going to help the city. And we understand that the food needs to come from people that know what they're putting on their food. A lot of our young people think that the food starts at the supermarket, and they don't know the trajectory that it took, the hands that it took for you to be able to eat. And this is the reason why we became farmers. And I'm also the executive producer of a podcast, the Blue Dream Radio, the People's Cannabis Podcast. And we talk about cannabis and how can Black and brown people become a player in the cannabis industry that is not just for selling or for, having a brown face in your company, but actually having an equity and actually creating generational wealth for the community. So we do a lot of different things as a family, but we settle in the farming.
It's also being we can't hide our identities, right? We walk into the space, or we walk into a Zoom and we look like this, right? And immediately there's questions. Why do you speak English so well? Things, microaggressions that we hear, or that people ask us, and that either we decide that we're going to confront right away to stop it, or we decide, it's not worth our time, let's keep it moving. We're going to show them with the work that we do. Resources are a really, really big issue, not only for BIPOC farmers, but farmers, period. Do your research, do your full research. So if you're looking at a couple of different towns, like there was the town of Reading that's right next door, they're all about rural, right?
Yes,
they're
they
super
are.
open, and we're looking for houses there. And we didn't think about looking at that. For
A lot of people don't.
And to add to that too, go to your FSA FSA office before you purchase.
Yes.
Go to your FSA office.
Yes.
And the reason why is because there's a lot of older farmers who are tired, who just want to retire and don't know and they don't want to give their farm to a developer.
Yes.
So they want to be able to they want to sell it to someone, and they want to make sure their farm, it's been in their family for very long. They want to make sure it goes into good hands.
Yes.
And so if you really want to go into farming, look at your local FSA office, contact your local Department of Ag. The people there are actually really nice. They're not as off-putting as one can think, right? Contact them and say, hey, listen, I want to buy land. where do I start?
Yeah.
And they're sometimes some of your greatest resources,
Yes.
and they become your friends over time. We're literally like, we're on the phone with some of the folks from the Department of Ag often, just talking about new grant ideas. We're part of the diversity, equity, and inclusion working group here for the state of Connecticut's Department of Ag. So we've been able to have access to a number of folks. But absolutely, do your research on the area where you want to live and what the regulations are, and who's in office to make sure that you can change that policy. If that's, it seems like it's something like, you know, too far ahead. But trust me, we got here, we were setting ourselves up, and then we were hitting a number of roadblocks.
And then for me, also another thing is, it's okay to rent for the first year. We didn't want that. I believe in, I don't need a middleman.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can do everything ourselves. But if you are small scale, if you want to start off just to see and get your feet wet, like rent. You know, there's a lot of places that you can rent an acre for like $150 a year.
Yes, leasing.
So it's like you can start off like, you know, you don't have to outright buy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people buy this property and then they don't have money to maintain it. So like, you know, rent, if you want to rent, if you want to get your feet wet, there's nothing wrong with that. Renting before owning.
So, okay, so are those your last words of encouragement
Yes.
to those who are beginning, who want to explore farming, is to do your research and to be able to probably lease a piece of land so that you could go at it and experiment before you go in for the dive.
Sure. And then two last things.
Go ahead.
Sure.
One, just talk to your family. Right?
Yes.
Like as a community of color, we have ancestors, aunts, great uncles, great grandparents, whomever, who know what it was to do this work.
Yeah.
Talk to them. And so many of our cultures, it's all oral history, right? It's something that's written. So you yourself could become a historian, just like recording it, putting it on social media, however it is, but learning that, because those are the things that you end up being able to implement, even if it's a different weather. Obviously, my family's from Ecuador. The zone is very, very different than here in Connecticut, but it's at least there's some things that are very transferable. And then the second thing would be just like building relationships. Networking is really important. We met a lot of people through social media. Again, during the pandemic, that's how we got in contact with folks. Now social media has actually made people get much closer than they have in the past. We learned a lot through social media. You know, Professor YouTube became our resource. So don't be afraid to ask for help. There are a lot of people who want to see you succeed, and who want to be able to build a network with you.
And you can reach out to us.
And how can people reach out to you? Give us your contact information, please.
Seamarron Farmstead. That's on Instagram and on TikTok, because that's the only two social medias that we have for the farm. And then you can send us an email at Seamarron Farms, SEAMARRON farms @gmail.com.
And that's farms with an S at the end.
Yes.
At gmail.com. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you. It was a pleasure and an honor to be here in your home today. Thank you for the tour. And we wish you the best of everything that you do and many blessings here.
Thank you. Let's get free.